I'd never thought a single night could turn my life upside down, but that's exactly what happened after that night at P. Diddy's party. You'd think an invitation to one of the biggest celebrity events in Miami would be the stuff of dreams, but I promise you, that night was anything but. It all started so simply. I was living in LA, trying to make it big in the music industry, like countless others. The connections weren't coming through, and I was starting to wonder if I was wasting my time clinging to nothing. Then, out of nowhere, a friend introduced me to someone they called the Prince. He was rich, mysterious, and apparently well connected with big producers. We hung out a couple of times. He heard me sing and instantly promised that he'd take my career to the next level, said he could introduce me to some of the biggest names. And then came the invitation, an exclusive freak-off party with P. Diddy himself, right in the heart of Miami, during Ultra Music Week. It was supposed to be wild, unforgettable, life-changing. But as soon as we arrived, I knew something was wrong. The mansion was huge, glowing against the night like something out of a magazine. People were everywhere, celebrities I'd only seen on TV, models draped in barely their outfits. Everyone looked perfect, but as I looked around, I started to feel it. But before I could react, security patted us down, took our phones and locked them in these weird little bubble cases. No cameras, no recording. That should have been my first sign. They weren't preventing pictures, they were hiding something big and nasty. Back then, I was naive enough to brush it off, thinking it was just some high-profile security measure. This was a private party, after all. Inside, everything felt different. It was dark, too dark, even with all the lights and music. I could see people in the pool, already tipsy, some skinny dipping as waiters walked around, handing out drinks. The air was laced with smoke and the thick scent of perfume. I tried to fit in, holding a drink, but something in me told me not to sip. It felt like eyes were on me, even when I wasn't looking. Then, out of the crowd, I noticed him, P. Diddy. He wasn't just a party host. He was the king of the court, strolling through the rooms, eyes gleaming, watching everything like a hawk. Then he spotted me. He stared and nodded, as if I'd been singled out. At first, he kept his distance, just glancing at me now and then, almost like he was studying me. I started to feel a strange tension. Everywhere I turned, he seemed to be there, watching from a dark corner, or smiling to himself, like he knew something I didn't. After a while, things got weirder. A man approached me, one of Diddy's sons, I think, and handed me a pair of white terry cloth slippers. "Go in the house," he said. "It's for VIPs only." I looked back, wanting to bring the prince along, but he waved me off. "Just you," he said with a grin. My gut screamed at me to leave right then, but I told myself that this was my shot. I'd made it this far. I couldn't turn back now. Inside the house, it was worse. The lights were dim, but I could make out everything. People were doing things. In each corner, there was something more bizarre, something so nasty the food would churn in your stomach. It was like watching a nightmare come alive. People dressed in strange costumes, indulging in fetishes, things I'd only seen in movies. In the center of it all was P. Diddy, watching everyone, his gaze sweeping over the room like a predator stalking his prey. And then he locked eyes with me. I wanted to look away, but I was terrified. There was this darkness in his eyes, something almost inhuman. He started walking toward me, slow, deliberate, that same predatory grin plastered on his face. My heart was pounding, every instinct was screaming for me to run. But his words? Oh, his words are what froze me in place. "Enjoying my little party? You know, your life will never be the same after tonight." Then, he was gone, leaving me standing there, trying to catch my breath. I couldn't stay any longer. I turned to leave, but before I could reach the door, he was there again, blocking my way. His hand rested heavily on my shoulder. I forced a smile and tried to brush past him, but he grabbed my arm, pulling me closer and whispering, "Don't worry, you'll get used to it eventually." His voice was dripping with something sinister.
I don't want to.
I jerked away. My skin crawled at his touch as I stumbled toward the exit. The prince was waiting by the exit with a sick smile on his face. He'd known all along. I could see it now. The entire night was a setup, a trap. "I thought you wanted to make it big." He smirked, inching closer. With all my strength, I pushed past him and ran. I only remember running around the mansion like a maniac until I spotted an unguarded opening. It was towards the forest. I somehow managed to escape and hail a cab. My heart raced the entire way home. When I finally got back to my place, I realized just how close I'd come to something unspeakable. I'd heard stories about the industry, about the things people would do for fame, but I'd never truly believed it to be that horrifying until that night. Now, whenever I see him on TV, smiling like he's untouchable, I remember his words, that cold grin, the way he looked at me like I was a toy for his pleasure. And I know, somewhere out there, there are others like me, people who thought they could handle the darkness until it was too late with no way out. Self-proclaimed bad boy for life, Sean Diddy Combs is facing serious legal issues following numerous allegations of sexual assault, harassment, and sex trafficking throughout his career. The story is based on the victim's interview. For more details on the horror of P. Diddy's parties, you can watch the real-life interview given by Tanea at My Night at P. Diddy's Freak-Off, Tanea. We had just arrived in Beverly Hills 2 days earlier, excited about the unique opportunity to attend one of the most exclusive parties in the country. I'm an independent musician, and honestly, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for my career. I decided to bring my girlfriend, Sherry, with me. We never imagined that our little adventure in the U.S. city would lead us here, a private party hosted by Sean, better known as P. Diddy. One of his famous white parties. Everything felt so surreal, almost like living in a movie. It was unbelievable. Celebrities everywhere. Justin Bieber, Lady Gaga, Adele, Taylor Swift, and the great Beyoncé, who walked through the party like a goddess among men. And why shouldn't she be? She's one of the biggest stars around. But what caught my attention the most was the man of the hour, P. Diddy, the host of the party and the one who would give me the chance to become a major artist. The night felt glamorous. The lights shimmered over the pool as the guests, mostly celebrities and influential figures, laughed and drank non-stop. It was then that our host approached us, P. Diddy. He greeted us with a smile that was as charming as it was imposing. This man could make you disappear with a snap of his fingers. He offered me a drink that I couldn't refuse. "I've heard of you, Jonathan," he said. His words were odd, or rather his tone was excited and far from friendly, but I remained enthusiastic. "You have potential. Maybe we can do something great in music together." I was completely ecstatic because the great Diddy, without even talking to him first, was offering me a chance to make it with the big names in music. It felt unreal. But Sherry noticed something strange. There were a lot of people much younger than us at the party, accompanied by much older men. We thought they were her parents. We were too impressed to be there in the midst of all of this luxury. But as the hours passed, the atmosphere grew darker, more unsettling. The partygoers began to disappear. All the younger people and the old men were gone, and the laughter turned to unsettling whispers. Something was happening, and the looks on the celebrities' faces made it clear. Diddy passed his hands over a few artists, and then he came over to me. He said he wanted to talk, suggested I stay a little longer, and then he had something special in store for me.
It's time to go.
Sherry told me the moment she realized something was wrong. But before we could leave, 2 guards blocked our way, and P. Diddy's smile was gone. Now his face showed something that made my skin crawl. We tried to remain calm, but his tone changed. "Leaving already?" he asked, almost mockingly. "The party's just getting started for you two." They led us to a secluded room in the mansion, a luxurious suite, but locked. As we walked toward the room, we could hear children crying or gasping. It was terrifying. We wanted to leave, but they wouldn't let us. Once inside, we realized that we were prisoners there. P. Diddy wanted something from me, and it wasn't just a music deal. We had been tricked, lured into a trap with no way out. My heart raced as I tried to find a way to escape while Sherry was terrified, and I couldn't stop thinking about how to protect her, but it was no use. This night wasn't about us or our safety. It was about fulfilling the sick desires of someone who had been playing us from the beginning. Muffled screams, banging on the door. No one would come to help us. Diddy said the guards could have their fun with the girl and that he wanted the big prize. I tried to protect her, but there was nothing I could do. They hit me and left me on the floor, watching him laugh and take his shirt off.
Please stop!
Let her go! You will not interrupt my men. Let her go! Sean Diddy Combs, known for his legendary white party events, has gone from being a dominant figure in the entertainment industry to facing serious criminal charges. The gatherings, attended by stars including Justin Bieber, Mariah Carey, and Paris Hilton, were once seen as the event of the year, but are now mired in allegations of abuse and exploitation, with some attendees claiming they were victims of it all. The U.S. Attorney's Office has accused Combs of sex trafficking and racketeering, with more than a dozen civil lawsuits alleging sexual abuse, extortion, and violence. The lawsuits describe an environment in which drugs and threats were allegedly used to coerce people, and some participants said they felt intimidated by Combs' power in the industry. In one such case, singer Cassie, Combs' ex-girlfriend, accused him of extreme manipulation and abuse. In addition, the so-called freak-off parties, secret events marked by excess and violence, were a key element of the federal charges. Combs' downfall has rocked the industry, and activists hope it'll lead to a shift towards greater accountability. Despite his denial of the charges, the world is watching the trial, scheduled for 2025, to learn the fate of the once powerful hip-hop mogul. I'll never forget that harrowing night. I went to a mansion party thinking it was just another Hollywood opportunity. My friend Jen had invited me, all hyped up about how this would be the place to make real connections. We were both models at the time and it was paying well, but we wanted more. Anyone can be a model, but to be a star? Now that was a dream worth chasing.
There's gonna be A-listers at the party, babe. Reb told that this is the party. We can't miss this, babe. Who knows? Maybe you'll find yourself a daddy.
Jen said, while putting on a skimpy dress and throwing me another one to pull.
I don't need that. And I don't think Florida would have a better scene than LA. Babe, it's different. LA is sophisticated. Florida is where these celebs go wild. I heard it's like a big music producer's party, and everyone's gonna be there.
As we pulled up to the Florida mansion, lit up like a freaking candle. The minute we got to the entrance, though, things felt off. There were bodyguards everywhere, and they didn't look friendly. The vibe was stiff, and we had to go through this weird check-in where they practically scrutinized every inch of us. They told us, "No photos, no phones, and definitely no asking the wrong questions. You don't tell your age if anyone asks. You don't ask anyone their age, their name, or what they do. And you sign this NDA. Whatever you see inside, you are legally prohibited from talking about it." I almost laughed because I thought it was some joke, but Jen nudged me, looking serious. The bodyguard took us to another room, where one by one we were weighed. Any woman who was over 140 was denied entry. Crazy. Inside, the place was insane. It was like stepping into some glossy magazine spread. Super luxe decor, endless drinks, drugs being served around on platters, and people who looked like they'd stepped out of a music video. For a second, I tried to let myself relax, but as I was about to take a sip of my drink, something just told me not to. Maybe it was that instinct that girls have, you know? Jen wandered off, and I was trying to blend in, smiling, nodding, just trying to look like I belonged. I saw so many famous actors and childhood crushes and pop stars. Then I noticed this fat guy by the pool. He was watching me, like, really watching me. He sauntered over with this confident grin that felt anything but friendly. He started some small talk, but I just got this ick feeling. I laughed it off and tried to slip away, heading for the bathroom. But guess who followed? Inside the bathroom, I tried to act cool, but my heart was racing. And suddenly there he was, in the doorway, cornering me. He leaned in close and whispered, "You know, I could make your life very easy if you're a little fun." His words were so slimy, it was like I could feel them on my skin. His breath stank of cigarettes and alcohol. I wanted to scream, but I was just frozen.
This is the ladies' room.
"Then this is where I want to be, girl." Before I could think of what to do, one of the stalls creaked open, and this older woman stumbled out in a badly fitting bikini. She was decked out in diamonds, looked loaded, and didn't seem the least bit fazed by the guy or the situation. She took one look at me, then at him, and instead of helping, she flashed me this knowing smile.
"You got such kissable lips,"
she said, like she was complimenting my shoes or something, and then snorted a line right there on the counter. I couldn't believe how casual this was for him. I was stunned, and then she turned to him, starting this weird argument like she was defending her territory.
"I'll pay for her.
Bull, she's mine.
Everything here is for everybody."
And this whole party is mine. Move on, bitch. You don't know who you're talking to. They started raising their voices, which honestly was the first thing I was grateful for all night. It drew the attention of a nearby bodyguard, who finally stepped in. I thank God. But as he walked up, he gave me this dead-eyed look and said, "Stop causing a scene. Either pick one of them or get out." That was it. I was done. My brain kicked into survival mode. I slipped past all three of them and got out of there. I went to find Jen, but she had her tongue down the mouth of a famous rapper, so I was scuttled. I didn't stop until I was out of the mansion, inhaling fresh air, shaking, wondering what on earth I'd just gotten myself into. Back in the cab, I could barely believe it. All I wanted was to make connections, to get ahead. But that night showed me the real underbelly of this world, the one no one warns you about until it's too late. This story is inspired from real-life accounts of P. Diddy's parties, where girls were told what to wear, slotted based on their weights, and were treated like props for the whims of powerful people.